Robert,
Yes, sir.
the condo market is crashing.
What?
Crashing.
What?
Crashing. On this episode of Real Estate Chat with
John Perez.
and Robert Eid, we're going to talk about the condo crash of 2023. Let's jump into the news. So here's an article that came out from the Toronto Star. We're going to link it on our show description. Record drop in new condo sales, putting future construction at risk, report says. A couple key notes here, basically talking about the crash in the new number of sales of condos. So it says here new condo sales increased 118% quarter over quarter. So if you're comparing it on a quarter over quarter, there it is. There's the real headline, right? So it did increase when you're comparing it quarter over quarter by 118%. But the condo market is crashing because of a 35% decrease compared to the same time last year. This is by a report from Urbanation that Toronto Star piggybacks off of. And here's the, the actual number: 6,727 condo units were sold, 59% decrease in the first 6 months of 2022 when you compare it. 42% decrease from the 10-year average. Essentially that they're citing the market difficulties, basically about financing, the high interest rates, the rates that were supposed to have stayed low for a long period of time are not. And in fact, they're giving us punch after punch of interest rate hikes, amongst other things that this article says. You can read it. You can, have a look at it. But Robert, what's your take on this?
Well, this is an article that's written by Kelly, a Toronto-based general assignment reporter for the Star. Reach her via blah, blah, blah. So we know that the Star goes for anything where it says the sky is falling. We know that. So this is something where she's found a tidbit from Urbanation that says, not month compared to month, not year compared to year, but quarter compared to quarter. Now, how was the first quarter of this year? Lousy. How was the second quarter? Big. So there's a headline, but that's not the headline they want. They want the bad. So they find a hall marker with their own team, one group, to make a comment, which are very fair. Summertime, rates are higher, affordability, people feel not so peppy. We talked about consumer sentiment a few times. And another real estate agent from real estate representative registrant from Sutton Group, who makes some very appropriate comments about the difference between last year and this spring and right now and summer and the rest of the time. But the key thing is that the sky is not falling unless you pick a very high time to compare a normal time to. And if you pick a lousy time to compare the good time to, then it's fantastic. So it's appraisal according to client's instructions, statistics according to your end result desired, a nonsense article from the Toronto Star, the sky is falling again.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is they put the spin on that, and that's the reason why we can in turn piggyback off of a negative our headlines and use that, and make sure you click like and subscribe if you like what you see so far in Real Estate Chat. But we're also about transparency. So yeah, they didn't report that 115% increase. They chose the lesser decrease and used that as the article's main headline. But on the other side of things, sorry, not 11,516 increase or whatever, 118% increase sales. Okay, sorry about that mix up. But in addition to that, Robert, there's also behind the scenes stuff that realtors are getting, such as emails like this from a project within Toronto that's offering 5% commission, 5% deposit. Just to me, it's kind of low. You only have to put down, well, I mean, mind you here, this is to realtors, so they're saying how much commission you're getting paid.
No, it's not. No, it's not. That's the deposit.
Oh, this is the deposit structure.
Instead of the regular 10 or 20%, they're saying 5% deposit. Now
I see. Easy to get confused. You know what? As a realtor, it's easy to get confused. I'm like, wow, I'm getting 2.5 and 30, 2.5 and 180 because.
Well, it's not unintentional, but.
Isn't it? You know what? I never even thought of it that way, but.
You're spelled out more closely. Yeah.
Here we go. 5% deposit, 55,000 up to 55,000 credit on closing, free assignment.
Yeah.
Lease during. So cap develop. This is like all the stuff that they never really offered when the market was rip roaring. They're now offering this to everybody, including free assignments. Now you can
Exactly.
lease bring on,
Because
they
what
don't
they
have.
want to do is maintain the price point that everybody else paid. And so they give away some other things to maintain the price levels, like throwing in all the appliances and things like that. So these are for investors, non-occupant investors that are going to rent it. They want the right to be able to rent it on occupancy, because now they get income as soon as they have to start making payments out. And all of their costs, 55,000, it's an offset to the amount that they're going to have to pay under the HST, or until they get their HST rebate back in a few weeks and months. So it's a very much of a real, the building is being constructed, incentive to finish off all of the sales at all of those old buildings or existing buildings that are already under construction of this developer that's trying to put up a complex of about 10 buildings over there at the front of the DuPont. And they are using the realtor network to sell these units to their investor clients, who, especially when they were doing this so well 5 or 6 years ago, interest rates were down, stock market, nobody trusted it. Real estate always pays off. And so the registrant was saying, okay, I'll use this instead of selling them a house, which is very hard in this market. I'll sell them one of these units that's up for grabs, and I just fill out a worksheet and go to the display and sign it all up. And then now they're paying me commission before the closing. So it's a great deal for me. So that's how they pre-sold all these. They use the existing resale marketplace to distribute the information, to find the customers, and to tie them down.
So now, Robert, I mean, because we're all about giving an unbiased opinion here on Real Estate Chat.
Yep.
And, you know, not to say that there are no buyers of PreCon. Some people are still buying PreCon. And it's also not to say necessarily it's good or bad. You just have to know what's right for you. But in the current interest rate environment, in the current resale environment where prices are the way they are, and amidst all of the factors such as immigration, and there's other mention of, you know, with the immigration, the way at the rate that it is happening right now, there will be shortages of units year over year over year. Would you take this and this offer of 5% commission, 5% down payment, literally everything handed down to your client? Would you sell an investor client today a PreCon, or would you still sway them to look into resale as an investment, or you just tell them, hey, don't buy anything at all? What would you do?
I've never liked the PreCons. In 20 years they've been doing it, I've never involved myself with one. And I guess till about 2007, that was a dumb attitude to have, because everything went nuts afterwards. And people who just sat there waiting for 5 years for the building, perhaps it got put on hold because of economic viability, but got rebuilt and the prices went up. They made money on them until about, you know, acquisition in 2017, 2007, hand over fist. And it was a great thing. And the government wasn't watching it for HST, and they weren't watching it for income tax, and they weren't watching it for principal residence. They weren't watching it for anything, but now they are. And so I don't think there's many immigrants that are coming into Toronto. They're going to pay $1,000 a square foot for anything. Never mind a suburban by the subway, far away from the subway, last minute development by somebody of less than unlimited quality reputation. But every one of those projects and every one of those deals that are signed has an economic viability clause in it, that if it's not working out for the developer, sorry, we don't build it. We don't build it for now. Tridell's done that.
Let me play,
done that. Everybody's done that.
Let me play on the flip side of this and throw something into this. Is that, I mean, the obvious thing is that every resale condo today was at one point a pre-construction condo, right? And so let me play on the opposite side of this and say that if somebody were to buy a resale condo 5 or 10 years from now, wouldn't have had made sense for somebody today to buy into this project. What would the risk be, if any, if they did buy into it, looking at it as one day this will be resale, one day I'm going to sell it for more than I buy it today?
Okay, the ones that are being constructed today and sold to investors are being sold to investors. It's a financial package. They're not saying anything to the subsequent buyer about, do you like the choice that he made about parking or not? Do you like the choice that first buyer made about locker or not? Do you like the exposure? Do you like the tiny size of the kitchen, the tiny size of the living room, dining room, the tiny size of the master bedroom at 12 by 10? are any of those things, apart from the fact that it's 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, 700 square feet, somehow we jammed it all in there. Doesn't matter what it faces under the 401, but they bought it for reasons that they were never going to occupy. So now as a resale salesman, we go in there and say, well, this is all very nice, except I wish the original purchaser had really, taken a parking spot, had taken a locker, because that's really what a condo comes with. But if downtown, they're doing it without one spot per, not even building one spot per unit, because they say, well, people don't have a car, and then, well, why should I spend the money? So it's you can't believe that developer is building a community for you. He is making money for himself. He's taking a piece of land that was a parking lot and throwing up 300 units, and you are paying for every nickel.
Yeah. So the resale value later on is going to reflect all of these choices right now. So even though at one point every single condo was a pre-con, the resale condos available today that were built maybe 5, 10, 20 years ago may have more value in them, believe it or not.
Well, the price will be higher. The thing is, can you live in it? That the ones that were built for specs, for non-owner occupants, that were bought by specs, you can't live in. There's no room in the closet. You don't have a locker. It's functionally obsolete. Whereas if they had appealed only to, yes, we're going to move in there, the people would say, well, I don't want that one. Why don't you combine these 2 units for the rest of the building and make it livable, make it a little bit bigger? We have kids. You can't all fit into a 1+ den. Like the real estate of pre-construction has gone over to supplying rental accommodation for students and foreign students, 3 kids into a 2-bedroom or 1+ den, homestay satisfaction, not supplying the needs of a long-term resident who has a job and a car and a family and an income and votes.
So the key takeaway here is if you are an investor and you're a newbie investor and this is your first time buying pre-construction, you've got to factor all of these things into mind. And you've got to think about the resale situation. And then, yeah, I mean, no doubt. I mean, Robert, you can disagree and just tell me if you disagree. But if somebody did buy pre-con today, maybe they'll hit some hiccups due to the challenges of today's environment, but they'll sell it for more than they bought it for at some point in the future. But whether they bought the best thing today as a pre-con versus if they bought resale or if they bought, let's say, a freehold property, really all depends on what somebody's financial objectives are, their intelligence in terms of investment.
It's the financial objectives are what the speculator, the pre-con buyer is being sold. You don't have to, you put this money down, you don't have to pay anything else until occupancy, at which time we guarantee we'll get a tenant for you. And if we don't get a tenant, you'll be part of a pool, and so we'll subsidize what your expenses are. It's a financial operation. It's like leasing a car rather than owning it. You have less of a vested interest in it than when you lease it than when you buy it.
Yep.
So it's a game. You got to remember it's a game. Yes, everything will go up higher, as we talked the other day, because inflation is a factor that the government and everybody is using now to keep the prices up so that no one will be disappointed. However, that's another story.
So don't get carried away by like all the sales promotions and all this, you're going to get a free car, or not you, but your realtor is going to get a free car at some of these events. Not everybody gets it, but somebody's going to get it. All these promotions and all that, you've got to be objective. Don't just look at it as, hey, I'm buying this and it's going to be smooth sailing. We're not saying it's right or wrong. You've got to look at your personal financial objectives, your investment criteria, and what you can stomach, right? And you'll be able to see based on that whether it's right to invest in a pre-con, invest in a resale, invest in a freehold by, maybe pooling your funds with a couple of like-minded investors. We're not doing anything at all and waiting. It's all up to you, but real estate prices will eventually go up. And one of these things will work out for you. Just got to know which one's the right one. If you have any questions about it, reach out to us. Make sure you click like if you like this. If you dislike this and you dislike pre-cons, it's up to you. Do the thumbs down. But we'd love for you to subscribe nonetheless and type into your comments what you thought about it and any questions you might have for us. We'll see you in the next episode of Real Estate Chat. Robert.
See you later.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.